moves me because this is awakening. We all need awakening. It doesn't matter if you're the best of the best. There's something inside of you that has tamed you. There's something inside of you that is holding you back. And it's on us to discover it. But you and I want to be people that help men figure out how to get that awakening, go through that awakening process. They can understand what these things are and stop living a life on pause, but push play on that life and fully engage the path of purpose that is set out before each one of us.
This is the Untamed podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your Untamed hosts, Mark Lucas and Joel Fritz.
Joel, Mark,
it's so good to be back.
It always is. Nice to be in your home, man. What a great spot.
Thank you.
And you're new to Atlanta?
I'm new to Atlanta.
Eight months now, is that right?
Hot Atlanta's been good. The weather's been crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it.
Well, you're from Arizona,
Families.
dude. The weather's crazy in every other part of the world,
I know.
practically.
Arizona's like, what is it going to be today on the Weather Channel? It's going to be hot and sunny and dry. Every single day. I don't know why meteorologists make money in Arizona, because they literally have the same forecast for 97% of every day. So
we've been in the Southeast for 4.5 years now, and we are not used to it after being in Arizona for so long. Even the slight, it's not cold like Minnesota or something, but it's cold for us Arizona people.
Our family's adjusting to the cold. It's been interesting. Snow days and all of it.
Yeah, man.
So I think as we jump back into this, gosh, I mean, what a beautiful journey we're on, you and I together. And we're inviting in, as we've already seen people come in and jump into this untaming process with us. Yeah. This untaming mindset, the few that are rising to the top and saying, you know what? I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to be the select. I'm going to be the elite.
I'm going to be one of the untamed few.
One of the untamed few.
I love it. I like it.
It's good. So I think we're going to begin to unpack here in these podcasts. Yeah. There's these 5 untamings. Mm-hmm. And I am, as you can tell in my voice, getting excited.
As soon as you say it.
Excited to walk through the first untaming.
All right.
The first untaming is this awakening. It's this process of awakening.
Yeah.
And I know you and I both are movie buffs and we love movies.
Yes, we do.
There was a movie that really, in a good way, you're just giddy up excited about the storyline and what happened in this 1980 movie that was now recreated with a part 2. So I don't want to give too much away.
There's
your thunder.
There's a few people out there, that got obsessed like me.
A few million.
Yes. A few million. I thought it was more few than that. Come on.
Okay. The untamed few.
I felt special, all right.
Okay. You are special.
The Top Gun few.
Yes, for sure.
I loved that movie. I mean, I was obsessed with it. And this is true story, no joke. I think I watched it a few too many times, and in the mid-90s. If I recall, after I had my wisdom teeth out, maybe that's when I watched it too many times. But after after my wisdom teeth were out, I decided I want to be a fighter pilot. I'm like, I really think I watched it once too many. But
Maverick or Iceman? Who did you want to be?
At that point, I loved both of them because
What
kind of
choose both.
Listen, who does something like this?
One, I know. That's Iceman.
So it could be Iceman, it could be Maverick.
No, you have to choose.
I'll choose Maverick. All right, fine.
I'm choosing Iceman.
All right. So I love that movie. It spoke to me. Actually, I was saying, what's funny about the whole deal is that I actually joined Air Force ROTC and was signed up for it. Now that's a whole nother story, but my life did not go that direction after a year, but we'll probably tell that story because it was impactful in my life. But let me tell you, so the new Top Gun movie came out after waiting COVID year after year. It got pushed back, and
it had to be in the big screen. Yep.
They knew they had something because that movie absolutely killed. I couldn't believe it. And it wasn't just being a Top Gun fanatic. I remember my daughter, who 15 years old at the time, had her friends were coming up to me and saying, "Nice shirt," as I was wearing my 1985 Top Gun shirt.
It still fits though, right?
I'm cool again. This is amazing.
Did you have dog tags?
We have no dog tags.
Okay.
But so that's just
dog
a little Top Gun obsession. Yeah. But I got to tell you about this new movie because I think it speaks to this. It really is powerful. The new movie, Top Gun Maverick. The story just blew me away. I mean, it was genuinely a good movie. And if you're, like with us and you actually haven't seen Top Gun Maverick, I don't think I'm going to spoil the whole deal. But shame on you. Go and see it right now. And I hope you'll actually go and see it after this. But I want to tell the story because what happens in these stories is that we're drawn to the flashy, shiny things and airplanes, Mach 2, whatever. And in this movie, Mach 10, right, is like, it draws you in. It makes you go, oh, feeling alive, the adrenaline, the whole deal. And we talk a lot about adventure because adventure is powerful in the sense that when we go on an adventure together, when we go on a little adventure ourselves, it changes us as a human being because it takes us through a journey and a story. And it allows us to see things from a different angle. So I think that movie does a really good job of that, but that's only one part of the story.
Right.
There's an external story going on. That's where the plot exists, etc. But you know what makes Top Gun Maverick a great story is the internal struggle that he's going through. And they do such a good job, it blows me away. But it starts right at the beginning when you are in a hangar in the Mojave Desert, and here's Maverick. You see Maverick, and you look, and they actually start the whole movie with a picture board. And you see all these pictures from the old movie. And it's connecting the viewer, like, remember Top Gun 1985? Yeah, there's Iceman, there's Goose. You remember the pain that he went through as Goose passed away. And all of it. There's also a picture of a new person. And we don't really know who that new person is, but they're there and seem like they're going to be significant. But it seems more than anything that life has stopped whenever that was. Right. 30 years ago, all the pictures are from 30 years ago. There's nothing new. And then he pulls out a bomber jacket, the same bomber jacket. And then, I mean, all the nostalgia is just like, I've got chills. Look at these goosebumps just because of the nostalgia.
Goosies are coming out.
He gets on his Suzuki, 85 Suzuki or whatever. It says, I can't drive 55. And he zooms to the hangar. And that's where the story begins. But you can see that there's something going on. He's stuck in the past. And as the movie develops, you come to find out that he is still the best of the best. He is at the highest in his game. He is the best fighter pilot in a genre of something that has the cockiest people, is the most dangerous, like all this. It's like the guy that you want to be. Maverick is that guy. He's the best
most bravado of all bravado.
Yeah, the most bravado. Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So he's the guy, but you can tell that he's also the guy that something has happened. Something's wrong. He has admirals looking at him going, why are you still a captain in the Navy when you should be a two-star admiral by now? What's wrong? There's something wrong with you. Yeah. And that's where you start to really engage this internal struggle that he's in. Well, as this struggle goes along, you're starting to see that there's a main point in the whole deal, and it has to do with Goose's son, Rooster. And there's a lot of tension built up because Maverick feels like he's the surrogate father for Goose, that he's supposed to play that role. And he doesn't know how to do it, and he feels like he's failed at it. And that really has become the defining thing for him, but he can't articulate it. He doesn't know it. But Mark, this is so cool, and it moves me when I think about it. What happens is there's a scene where he's with Penny Benjamin, who is truly the love of his life. She's mentioned in the early Top Gun, and now there's this reconnection that's alluded to that they dated before, and it just hasn't worked out. And now they're together. And she asks him questions about Rooster. And he opens up and he reveals his true feelings about the matter. And you can tell he hasn't even done this with himself at this point. But the moment he opens up and reveals those things, answers start to come to him. Clarity just drops on him. And it's really cool because you see this shift in the character. And from that moment, when he's with Penny Benjamin, he changes. And there's a new goal in his life because he's going to right the wrongs. It's almost like life had stopped when Goose died, and life was restarting in this moment. And it was so cool. And they did such a good job and even put this accent on it right then, because then the daughter comes home and they're in the room together upstairs. And she's like, you got to get out of here. And he's backing out, climbing out the window. But as he's climbing out the window, after this significant moment has happened, this change has taken place, he looks back and he looks at Penny and he says, I'm never leaving you again. And then he climbs out the window. It's hilarious, the whole deal. And you fast forward to the end of the movie, there's so much that happens in there, so many complex things. But you don't even need to know those things to fast forward to the end of the movie and they show that same picture board. But on that picture board this time, there he is with his arm around Rooster. And they've done something together. They've moved forward in their relationship together. And it moves me. It moves me because this is awakening. We all need awakening. It doesn't matter if you're the best of the best. There's something inside of you that has tamed you. There's something inside of you that is holding you back. And it's on us to discover it. But you and I want to be people that help men figure out how to get that awakening, go through that awakening process. They can understand what these things are and stop living a life on pause, but push play on that life and fully engage the path of purpose that is set out before each one of us. So
that's so good.
I love it.
We should go right now and watch the movie.
Let's do it. All right. Pod's over.
No, I mean, anybody and everybody that hears you retell a part of the story that sometimes maybe is missed in the greater story, the main story that happens in the second Top Gun. It's goosebumps, like you said. It's just extremely powerful. And I think when you end and you realize that there is this, how do we cultivate awakening? Like, what is this cultivation of awakening? You mentioned in the character, obviously, Maverick, what the story looked like for him and how he was able to resume the Polaroids and the pictures that were on that push board. But for us, walking this journey with the Untamed few, what does that look like? And that really, I think, is the crutch of the question today. How do you, watching this today, cultivate that awakening? And I think recently, that's the question, right? And I think recently, I have the joy, as you do, to be able to walk with men in a coaching setting and to be able to have weekly coaching clients that I meet with either in person or this happened to be this story over a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And this individual who has such a heart for his wife, such a heart for their new marriage.
Yeah.
I had the ability to be there when they were married in June, to be able to even officiate that wedding in June. And to be able to see just here we are, just over 7 months from the time they said their I do's. And I think you all have this understanding, if you're married, of what you think the first year of marriage is going to look like, right? We're going to have lots of sex. It's going to be just beautiful and glorious. Everything's going to be amazing. I've got this best friend and this partner. Everything is just going to be smooth sailing that first year. And yet, even in my marriage, and I think in most of our marriages, we have this like come to Jesus reality where it's just not that.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for a lot of us, even in that first year of marriage. And he's really had some really tough moments in the first year of marriage, to the point of him really questioning the marriage, questioning that he even made the right decision. Even though everything scripted going into saying, I do. He did it right. Yeah. He did all the right steps. And yet there was this drifting process that he felt from his wife. There was this drifting process where he and his wife both were wanting an awakening.
Yeah.
They were wanting and knowing that there was so much more than what they were experiencing in this period of 7 months of being married. And yet there was a series of conversations that we had in the last couple of weeks. And Joe, we focused in, and we mentioned this a little bit in the podcast that we had a couple weeks ago, but it's this word peace. And we begin to focus in our attention to really ask ourselves, what does peace look like in your marriage? And how often are you really fixating your thought and your energy around really saying, I want to bring an essence of peace into the home each and every time that I walk in from the garage and I see my wife for the first time at the end of my day. I want to have peace. I want to cultivate peace, and allowing that to begin to fester and cultivate an awakening in their marriage. And yet, as he began to do that, what he noticed is that as he would drive home from a very long day, like most of us as men have, as he would drive home from the office, he began to just turn off sports radio or whatever he was listening to in the car. And he began to just have conversations with himself, not like a crazy person, but conversations with himself, and just saying, I just want to have a frame of mind, and I want to have the energy to know that my most important part of my day, the most important part of my day, happens when I get home.
Right.
And here's how I can walk out that most important part of my day. I can walk in a way that has peace. I can walk in a way that has a heart of gratitude.
Right.
Even if I feel like there's a bunch of crap and poo-poo all around the things in my marriage that I'm not happy with.
But the crap you're talking about is very influential, and that's I feel like that's where so many of us are. And what happens in that is that we get fixated on that. And that's where that awakening is really needed, because the more we fixate on the problem, the harder time we have seeing either the solution or finding the peace that you're talking about. I mean, I'm thinking about all the different sorts of problems. So your context right now is in marriage, and I'm thinking, okay, for everybody who's married, they can relate to that in one way or another. But then there's other contexts too where this fits perfectly. I'm even thinking, I had this thought the other day, and I think I want to do one of our podcasts on this. So upcoming, this is probably going to be something that we talk about, but I'm not going to get into it today. But it's this idea that I think that there's a lot of business owners right now that are actually fixated or kind of stuck. Their business is actually the thing holding them back from their actual calling, right? Now, maybe they've found stability, they found success, they found certain things that they were hoping that the business would provide, and it's providing for some of the needs of their family and even their own personal needs. They're providing for needs of other families, etc. Those sorts of things, and that's very fulfilling. But they know there's something else. There's a call, and they're pushing that call back, and they're holding off from that because they're fixating on this, and they don't want to allow an awakening to develop inside of them. So whether it be marriage or whether it be business, you might just be saying, this is my circumstance. This is what I have. This is like what's been prescribed for me. The stars. This is what the deck that I've been dealt, the hand that I've been dealt, and kind of settle with that. But that's not the truth, right? The truth is that maybe there is something else, and you keep looking at the business as it is. But maybe it's time to move on from that business and to start another business. It's more in the center of your calling. Maybe your marriage isn't where it's supposed to be, but there is something that you can do about it. And I think that's that taming that gets on us and tells us there's nothing you can do. It's out of your control. Right. But when you talk about that, like I remember that feeling young. We were young. We weren't far. My wife and I went on our honeymoon not far from here. And I remember those first nights, those not nights, but the first time together when you're all alone. And now it's like, for us, it was the first time that we were staying the night together, right? And so there's nobody else but us, and there's an extreme amount of joy, and there's also like this awkward wonder, if you would, because you're like, oh my gosh, like it's quiet, there's nothing to do, and it's just me and you, and what's this like? It's like you're feeling the other person out in different ways that you never felt them out before, right? And it's, I just remember those moments were wonderful and they were confusing. And I think that even right from the beginning, we are always having to go back and sort things out. We need constant awakenings. We need to be in the practice, like the habit of practicing awakening. So sorry to interrupt that story, but I just had all those feelings. I had to dump it because.
Well, and I think even like you just said, that's spot on. And I think when you just said like, that's the hand that we have been dealt. And I think a lot of times as we're holding the hand, whether it's the hand that we're holding and we're thinking about where we are in the marketplace and we're scared to be able to pursue that calling because we're comfortable and we're pursuing the marketplace and that's winning. And what we're doing at work is winning.
Right.
But we're holding a hand in front of ourselves. And I think what happens is whatever hand you have right now in front of you, I think, and this is what I told the client about his marriage, there's at least one card in there that you can celebrate and say, you know what, I've got this one card.
Right.
I've got the king of whatever it is, of hearts, okay, and I'm going for a run. I've got the king of hearts, okay, and I know I can build a run off that, or three of a kind off that, whatever it is. And I know that I can truly change my mind focus to begin to say, let me celebrate that. Let me have a mindset that says there's an awakening, and there's a frame of mind that says, you know what? As we fix our eyes on the things that are wonderful, the things that are good, then we begin to realize that, you know what? We just can't live a discontent life because there's no real untaming in that. We can't live a life that's just comfortable because we know there's no untaming in that. We can't live a life that isn't intentional because we know there's no untaming in that. But a lot of times we get stuck because we can't even see one good card in our hand.
Right.
And I began to tell him, I said, focus on one great thing that you see right now in your marriage. And just walk in with peace as you pray to come home. Say, I want to focus on being as gracious and patient and full of peace, kindness, all the good things, but not be prickly, throw on my sweatpants or basketball shorts, put on the game on the TV, and just be a bum that night. Like, I want to be intentional.
You got it.
I want to be mindful, and I know that there's at least one good thing right now in my marriage.
But I
it was
gotta
awesome.
say,
Go ahead.
we have to do that because one is passivity and one is proactive, right?
Yep.
And so we always have that choice.
We do.
We always have that choice.
And the proactive is accepting responsibility.
Yeah.
So we all have a responsibility in this awakening process to say, I want to cultivate the responsibilities that I've been given to grow and to be more.
Yeah.
Like, I know in the untaming process, that first awakening, there's a beginning of orienting yourself and saying, this is where I'm at. This is my reality, but I'm going to take responsibility and intentionality to take that first hard step.
Right.
And to keep taking that first hard step.
And we can envision, we may be far off. I love ocean illustrations because we're talking about current, you know, whether it be societal current, you know, cultural, or circumstantial, whatever it is. I mean, you know, all of those things influence when we come up against hard things or crisis in our own families. But when you're surfing, you and I love to surf.
We do.
The current is always moving. We all expect it, right? And so then you figure out which way is the current going. Well, and if you don't know, once you get out there, you paddle out, you'll figure it out real quick. Yeah. But the thing is we fix an object. We look from the beach and we see where's the wave actually breaking. That's about where I want to be. And you can orientate yourself out there, but you see that fixed point, but you're always recognizing the current is moving me, so I'm having to do something counter to the current to get back to the spot.
Right.
But when you start to drift or you close your eyes, or sometimes you're looking out waiting for the waves, and then you turn around and look at the shore and you go, whoa, I've moved. Yeah. That's, I mean, it's not a scary feeling unless it's dramatic, you know, like, and you've gone a long ways and you're like, how am I going to get back? Do I have enough energy? All that kind of stuff. But we have to keep checking. And that's what I hear you saying, is that if we're not proactive, you know, we'll go with the current, and we can believe that there's no hope. We can do nothing. We can go and put on the, you know, football game and just not engage.
Comfortably numb.
Yeah, but we're just going to keep drifting in the direction. But we have to ask ourselves, what is that fixed point? Where do we want to be? And if the answer is a good marriage, I want to step into my calling. I want to be clear, courageous, and on my path of purpose. Then we're going to have to take action steps.
Yeah. And I think one of the steps that there's lots of tools that we can really walk with men that are in this journey with us, this untaming few. One of the tools that we'll talk about today that actually I gave this client, which was a great tool. And it was really, when we think about the circadian rhythms of the day, and we think about kind of resetting the circadian rhythms, because at the end of the day, it's hard to cultivate an awakening, and it's also hard to cultivate peace. In the craziness that we live in this world most of our days. So I told this client, I said, at the end of the day, I said, here's going to be the challenge that I want to set before you. And you and I both have also been walking out this challenge personally. And one of the things that I think is really important for us in the awakening process is when you think about the start of your day and you think about how often we are really controlled by our phones, and how our phones really control the majority of our days are spent touching and manipulating and going to notification.
They've got us
checking
tamed.
in. They're
tamed
totally
to do exactly. Mark Zuckerberg has us tamed to do what he wants us to do, right?
It's true. So I just told him, I said, listen, this number might scare you, but let's start with this number. I said 15 minutes in the morning. I said, what would it look like the first 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Kind of the old surf days of dawn patrol, which you and I are so happy in those moments. In the dawn patrol of when you first wake up, okay? Leave your phone in the charger.
Yeah.
Find a place in the house that's a place that feels, there's a stillness in the air. There's a quietness in the air. Maybe with your cup of joe, you're watching the sunrise.
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
Wherever it is. But you can feel the slowness.
Yeah.
You even might feel your breath.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're
the
getting
house
in
is
touch
quiet.
with yourself.
You're getting in touch with yourself. That's exactly right. And I said, during that time, I want you to begin. This is just prescribed for where he was at. But I want you to begin to cultivate an awakening of gratitude, to begin to really focus on that one King of Heart.
Yeah.
There might be more now at this point, but focus on that King of Heart and just say, I want to be more awakened to the reality of where I'm at, and I want to lift my head up, and I want to engage where I am and where I want to go.
Right.
And I want to know that here's what I've got right now.
Yeah.
This is the card that I'm holding right now. And then in the evening, the last thing that I really want to hear from you.
Yeah.
The evening, it's almost the same resetting and bringing yourself down. The melatonin in the body are already producing at that point. But the moment we engage the brain to the blue light, it stops the melatonin, it changes the brain flow, and it really jolts the natural rhythm and the circadian rhythms that we were created and designed to have.
Right.
And the same thing as you go to bed, 15 minutes before bed. Say goodnight to your precious phone. Plug it in, blow it a kiss, do whatever you do. That's weird, but plug it in and set it down by your nightstand, okay? And just have 15 minutes in that moment.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, engaging with your wife in good conversation, which shame on you if you haven't, but finish the night out with 15 minutes of listening well, of engaging with her.
Right.
And I told him, and I have to tell myself this often because I just sometimes need to tell myself stuff often. To listen is to love. So I said, just listen well to whatever your wife wants to share before you guys say goodnight.
Yeah. Well, that's gold. And when you're talking about that, I mean, that actually is, this isn't just, a part of us being a better spiritual being or just human beings. This actually, what you're talking about actually does affect your sleep. So people who are struggling with sleep, they need to consider this actually as a part of their routine. And my wife deals with sleep issues. And so it's a lot of people, a lot of clinicians call it sleep hygiene, right? And so it's really the circadian rhythm, like you said, but it's setting a rhythm for your day and then actually making that last part a very intentional process and part of your day. And I think the only thought I had while you were talking was just this simple thought, is that when you get up in the morning, you have this moment, right? And before you go to bed, you have this moment. And really the question is are you allowing somebody else to be the influence in your life, or are you going to choose the influence in your life? Because that phone, it's a dictator. It's a little dictator that we carry around in the pocket, and the dictator says, I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. You don't know what's going to come up on
your
that
phone
screen.
Talks to you, by the way, a lot.
Well,
your phone is a dictator, but keep going. My phone is. I want to punt your phone into the pond.
I don't know what to say.
And Q would agree with me. I absolutely hate your phone. So keep going.
I have my calendar messages speak to me so that I don't miss appointments.
It is literally.
And it yells at me.
It's like
a little dictator.
Stalin's voice talking to you. That's exactly how it feels.
But that's exactly the point, right? This is exactly what I'm trying to say. My phone literally does talk to me. Mark is telling the truth.
It yells at you, but okay, you say talk.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a funny thing, but that's what we do. So even when your phone's not yelling at you, what is it? You get out of bed and it's almost like your habit just draws you right to that thing. Yeah. But Mark, you don't know what's going to be on it.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, for some people, maybe their boss texts them in the middle of the night. Yeah. I mean, my wife is in real estate and I've done real estate stuff for quite a while. You don't know what message you got, some angry client. Yeah. You don't know. So in those first minutes, especially like all the alerts that your social media is going to put up,
Crazy.
these messages.
Yeah.
And what do they want? Well, they want your attention because they want you to do something. They want to make a little money. Nothing wrong with making money, but you have to be the one that chooses. You have to be the one that has the discipline to say, what do I want the first influence in my life, in my day, the first influence of my day to be? Because it's my choice.
Yeah.
And I'm taking that back, and that's part of that untaming process. I'm taking that back, and it's mine. I'm going to choose who's going to influence me. And
let's go.
that's it. That's
Let's
it.
go.
So that is definitely a step people can take. They can do it then. They can do it at the end of the day.
Love it.
And it'll make a difference. It truly will. It is something that
It will cultivate awakeness.
You got it. We can guarantee
Yep.
it will make a difference. It truly will. Just that one little habit. So
Let's go. I love
Let's
doing
go.
this together. Facebook group.
yep.
People are joining more and more every day. It's exciting to see this tribe grow, to see the people on the journey with us. We're starting to hear from some people at this point where they want to take some adventure retreats.
Right.
So continue to engage that. I'm speaking that into existence right
That's
now.
right.
But continue to engage
Did you?
that.
You sent me a little thing about hang gliding up a Lookout Mountain. That was
Hang gliding.
intense. I mean, like,
Are
these
you
guys
in? You're in.
I'll do
I
it.
am absolutely. I will go right now and hang glide off that
Oh
biggest
yeah,
cliff.
and then there's white water. We were talking not far from there. There's white water rafting. That could be one, right?
could be
we
one
could
there.
go surf in sunny SoCal. The list is long, my
the list
friend.
is long.
But
So
yeah,
let's
for now,
go.
follow us. Follow us. We've got our outlets. And
like
you're
and subscribe.
Authentic
YouTube
Impact Coaching.
Yep.
I'm the calling coach. So
Let's go.
Let's go.
Love it. Appreciate you.
You too.
If this episode sparked something in you, please subscribe and even share it with someone who's ready to take their life to the next level. We're always on the hunt for men who are looking to become untamed and release their untamed potential. Also, if you found value in this conversation, then please rate the podcast and leave a comment. It makes a huge impact in building our community. We'll see you next time when the adventure continues, or maybe when yours begins.